Name brand versus generic brand. What's the difference between these two products? Even though they do the same job and they may seem identical, why are they packaged differently and why are they sold by two different companies? So, choosing between the generic brand and a name brand is something that everyone in the audience has had to do at some point in their life, whether it's at Target, at Costco, choosing between buying different cars, living in a house versus an apartment. Everyone has had to face that compromise kind of situation, choosing one option only. And I kind of had to work through this as well. I noticed that having to choose between these two products kind of creates a micro market within the already existing market for products and goods that we use every day. And I wanted to learn little bit more about what was making the cheaper goods cheaper, why they were different, why they were cheaper, why they were differently packaged, even though they did the exact same job. So what I found is I actually found a study done by Consumer Report, and they surveyed a little more than 24,000 people, and 72% said that they had bought a store brand in the last month, and 74% said that they were satisfied with the quality of the store brand. So, one secret of the store brands is actually that, especially if it's not a medicine, if it's an actual product, it's made by the same manufacturer or distributor or father company as the name brand. So you're getting basically the same exact product, just rebranded for under a different name. Um, for medicine and for drugs, they face a different kind of criteria that they must follow for generic versus name brand. This is because they must go through the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. So generic drugs must go through a quality performance assessment and go through a bunch of tests and studies that basically says they do the exact same thing as the name brand drug. So the generic brand drug, for example, will be taken by a subject, and the surveyors or the scientists will take their blood and measure how much of the drug is in their bloodstream. And if the generic drug has the same amount as the name brand drug in their bloodstream, then it is allowed. The only difference between generic brand and name brand drugs is that sometimes the inactive ingredients in the name brand drugs will just be completely taken out of the generic brand drugs. So less ingredients to add into the formula, cheaper price. And let me see. In certain generic medicines, they'll add fillers or dyes just to kind of keep the general composition or whatever the case may be. With different drugs, they'll have different cases where different fillers or dyes or alternate harmless products will be added just to make sure they're still the same dosage kind of thing. But general product. Oh yeah, so that's really the only risk that you run with generic versus name brand drugs is someone could have a reaction to these fillers or dyes, and that's they could be allergic or they could just have a bad experience with it. But that's really the only risk with running generic versus name brand drugs, since the FDA says that both of them will do the same thing. And then lastly, like sometimes with products, since they don't have to go through the FDA, they'll face less harsh stipulations and rules, basically. So, for example, Target brand trash bags, they noticed that on the name brand, the drawstring was ripping a lot. So Target actually made minor adjustments to their kitchen bags in order to make the drawstrings stronger. And this actually saves 1,000,000 pounds of plastic with the Target bags every year compared to the name brand. And then they're also doing things like taking the microbes out of exfoliating scrub, like for the face, because the little plastic balls aren't biodegradable. So, in summary, whether they're drugs or household products, um, generic brands are really the exact same thing as the name brand product. So you're really not losing anything. You're really not gaining anything. The only thing that is different really is the packaging and the price. So if you want to save a few extra dollars,